Follow every byway, every path you know. Climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream, a dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live, climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream. A dream that will need all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live, climb every mountain, ford every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find
Our opening words were written by Rainier Maria Rilke. You are so young, so before all beginning. And I want to beg you as much as I can, dear one, to be patient toward all that is unresolved in your heart. To try to love the questions themselves like locked rooms and like books that are written in a very foreign language. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given to you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, learn to live everything. Perhaps you do carry within yourself the possibility of shaping and forming as a particularly happy and pure way of living. Train yourself to it. But whatever comes, treat it with great trust. And if it comes out of your own will, out of some need of your inmost being, take it upon yourself and hate nothing. Beth Curtis is not with us today, but she has left us a time for all ages, which will be presented by Claudia Marshall.
Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to read a story called A Girl with Big, Big Questions, written by Brittany Wynn Lee. There once was a girl with twinkling eyes and a very curious mind. This girl was always asking questions whose answers weren't easy to find. The world is so very interesting. She wanted to learn all she could, from what makes a plane stay in the sky to what makes each person good. Her days were filled with adventure galore, since her mind was so full of wonder. How long can a turtle stay in its shell? Why does lightning come before thunder? Why can't people live on the moon? What happens to stars when they fall? When will you let me stay up all night? Why even have a bedtime at all? What does the dog do while I'm at school? Hey, how was the whole world made? And why do we have big hearts that can feel hurt and upset and afraid? Could I fly if I got a good running start? The nearest volcano is where? Are monsters real? What's Spanish for blue? Is it okay to cut my own hair? No, that's not a good one. From the moment she opened her eyes for the day to the time she was tucked into bed, she'd ask and ask every question that popped into her head. At first, her neighbors, teachers, and friends tried to answer her wonder-filled mind, but after a while, their encouraging smiles were replaced by the rolling of the eyes. Soon she noticed her questions were making them tense, and one day her class hit their limit, and she asked a dozen things about clouds, and the class hollered, "Please stop, quit it." Embarrassed, the girl tried to quiet her thoughts and not raise a voice so curious, so no one would be too uncomfortable or even worse, furious. But one day she found a nest of a bird built low and exposed near the ground. Why would a nest not be in a tree? She wondered and then looked around. She was all by herself with no one to ask, so she ran to the library shelves. She read about cities and the lack of safe places for birds to build nests for themselves. Like hunting for treasure, she searched and learned more answers that made her frown. With an urgent report, she announced to her class, "There are not enough trees in our town." The class now, moved by this information, asked questions about how to embark on a project to help both the birds and their neighbors by planting more trees in their parks. The girl knew then that big questions are good, and answers aren't just things to know. There are things to discover alongside each other. Asking questions is how we all grow. Some of us are probably like the girl in this story, or perhaps we're that child ourselves. She asked question after question, sometimes thoughtful, sometimes exhausting, and sometimes exactly at the wrong moment. The story playfully explores the tension between curiosity and patience, while reminding us that the questions are how we learn and grow. In our UU tradition, we honor that kind of seeking. We may discover different answers, but asking questions, exploring new ideas, and staying curious help us grow, understand one another, and feel more connected to the world around us.
The flaming chalice is the sacred symbol of our faith. And for many, the moment in our service when we light that chalice is the holiest moment on Sunday mornings. Before we light that sacred chalice, please hear these words which commemorate Memorial Day. They were written by Daniel Butterfield, Floyd Chandler, and Wayne Arneson. Day is done. Gone the sun from the lake, from the hills, from the trees. All is well. Safely rest. God is nigh. There are many stories about the beginning of Memorial Day. The first official observance was on May 30th, 1868, when flowers were placed on the graves of Union and Confederate soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery. Since World War I, Memorial Day has been commemorated as a day to honor all men and women who have died while serving in our nation's military. On Memorial Day, our nation pauses to express its appreciation to those who have served and who continue to serve in our nation's armed forces. On Memorial Day, we remember our comrades in uniform whom we have loved and lost in service to our nation. We express gratitude for their lives and their sacrifices, even as we risk our own. On Memorial Day, no matter our feelings about war, we remember the sacrifices made. May we honor the lives of those who have died, and may we reach out in love to our living veterans and their families, extending the olive branch of acceptance and respect as our faith calls us to do each and every day. War is a horror. May we never use Memorial Day as a time to glorify militarism or the killing and destructiveness of this human aberration we call war. We yearn for peace, and we pray for the day when nations pursue understanding over violence in resolving disputes. As we consider additional words to recognize the solemn commemoration of Memorial Day, I invite Chris Kynes to come forward and light our chalice. In the holy quiet of this hour, their names surround us, and they live with us in blessed memory. May we remain together in silence for a moment as a tribute to all they have meant to us. Thank you, Chris. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our call to worship. The words can be found in the order of service and on the screen. Good morning. My name is Elizabeth DeCoux, and I will give in to the temptation to tell you one of the worst jokes I ever heard a Southern preacher tell because it applies to me today. I have a frog in my throat. It jumped out of the crick in my neck. It's my privilege to serve as your worship leader today. I want to offer a warm welcome to each and every one of you, and especially to our visitors. We're glad you're here. If you stop by the welcome table near the entrance, you'll be able to get a name tag, find out more about us, and get information about classes we offer for people who are interested in learning more about Unitarian Universalism in general and this congregation in particular. Also, please be aware that we share fellowship, coffee, and refreshments in the back of this room immediately after the service. I hope to see you there. And lastly, I offer a humble and friendly reminder to silence your phones. The song leaders will please come forward as I invite you to rise in body or spirit to join in singing our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit. The words are also on the screen. We'll sing all the verses of number 347, Gather the Spirit.
sin-sick soul. Sometimes I feel discouraged and think my work's in vain. But then the Holy Spirit revives my soul again. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot pray like Paul, then go and tell your neighbor and say he died for all. There is a balm in Gilead to make the wounded whole. There is a balm in Gilead to heal the sin-sick soul.
Thank you so much, Adero and Gary. Each week, we take an offering to support the mission and work of this church and to sustain the function and beauty of our building and grounds. Whatever your choices about giving, we invite you to participate in this ritual by taking the plate when it comes to you and passing it to your neighbor. I invite you, as you touch the plate, to think of all those who have touched it in its history of more than 100 years, and all who will touch it in future generations, even after our time on this earth has ended. Our offertory ushers, Helen Met and Ted Clisby, will please come forward to take the offering. When they have finished, I will invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our offertory hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life. a gifted and beloved member of this church and its worship team, Alyssa Halliday is here to present a reading and then present the sermon, Question As Sacrament, written by Reverend Anna Tulou. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you, Elizabeth. The reading today is by Yehuda Amichai. It's titled, An Arab Shepherd is Searching for His Goat on Mount Zion. An Arab shepherd is searching for his goat on Mount Zion. And on the opposite hill, I am searching for my little boy. An Arab shepherd and a Jewish father, both in their temporary failure. Our two voices met above the Sultan's pool in the valley between us. Neither of us wants the goat or the boy to get caught in the wheels of the Kad Gadya machine. Afterward, we found them among the bushes, and our voices came back inside us, laughing and crying. Searching for a goat or a child has always been the beginning of a new religion in these mountains. And now, Reverend Tulou begins. At age 18, I got a scholarship to attend a summer course at St. George's College in Jerusalem to study the biblical and socio-political history of the region alongside American, English, and Palestinian students. We traveled throughout Israel, Jordan, and Palestine, visiting many historical and contemporary sites, meeting all kinds of people. While I was there, I fell utterly in love with the land, the history, the sacred sites of so many traditions, and with the people. People dedicated to peace, to living out their faith by doing the good work of building community across religious and cultural differences. Also, while there, I witnessed acts of violence and brutality, oppression and degradation, likewise often rooted in religious and cultural difference, of an intensity and frequency that was astonishing. My life up to that point had been very privileged and protected, and the things I saw in person there, I had previously only ever seen on the news. So what I had before been able to think of abstractly as other people's problems suddenly became much more real and immediate and visceral. I was unable to reconcile all of this. How could such goodness and evil both be wrought simultaneously, ostensibly, in the name of religion? I did not have the tools to do such reckoning. See, I had been raised in a Christian tradition, and I loved it fervently. And my theological questions were not always welcomed. Questions about the nature of God, life after death, why bad things happen, sin, damnation and salvation, and who gets to go where, and is this fair? Unlike in Unitarian Universalism, in my church growing up, this kind of exploration was not encouraged, especially in young people. I was expected to accept what I was told as is. Because of all this, I had not developed the skills of questioning and reckoning, the ability to sit with and hold conflict and paradox. So when I saw such pervasive harm in the Middle East, I demanded answers of my own faith, satisfying concrete answers, and there were none to be had. I could not tolerate that. And so, angry and hurt, I walked away from religion entirely for over a decade. I felt at the root betrayed. I still felt the call to spiritual life and ministry, and over time, I learned to live the questions, as Rilke put it from our opening words this morning. By the time I arrived in UUism, my spiritual orientation had shifted dramatically. I still had lots of questions, but somewhere along the way, I had relinquished the need or desire for concrete answers. Instead, the aim of my questioning was to find ever more and better questions. I learned to embrace paradox, to hold conflict within me, to relish mystery. And in UUism, at last I found a religious community where my questions were welcomed, where my theological and philosophical difference was embraced. Reverend Tulou continues, but my experiences in the Middle East have never left me. Somewhere along the way, I came to an understanding that the grave harms I witnessed that summer and the countless other harms that have been done there and in so many other places since were not because of religion per se, but because of a particular expression of conviction. Sometimes religious, other times not, often entangled with other things. An expression of conviction in which a person or group's truth is understood to be needfully exclusive and rigid. In such a worldview, if there can only be one fixed truth, then it follows that all other truths are not truths at all, but the lies or delusions of inferior people. Do you understand? If I think that mine is the only truth, then anyone that doesn't agree with me is wrong and also a threat. Then anyone that doesn't agree with me is wrong and also a threat. I already read that. This is a supremacy mindset, not a pluralistic one. It is a mindset of power over rather than power with. Such jealous truths are stones ready to be thrown or stacked and built into walls of us versus them, and dehumanizing, othering. The ripples of such jealous stones were what I had perceived in those weeks that I spent in Israel, in Palestine, in Jerusalem. The ripples of such jealous stones are all too easy to perceive in the world today. What does our faith tradition have to say about this? Addressing religious difference and conflict, our Unitarian lineage historically proposed that there are many paths, but one mountain, one truth, the summit of which we all seek to attain, whether we be Hindu, Christian, atheist, Jew, pagan, Muslim. Our Universalist lineage proposed that no matter what one believes or does in this life, the salvation of all in the afterlife is guaranteed by a supremely loving God. Both denominations are still presumed to have access to and knowledge of one ultimate truth, one true God. Today, our expression of Unitarian Universalism challenges us further to even better questions. What if I am wrong? What if I am right, but that is only one way of rightness? What if it is not many paths and one mountain, but rather many mountains, many truths? What could we learn from those who believe differently than us? What if our emphasis was on the salvation of those in this life rather than whatever comes to us after death? What if truth is not a static, absolute destination, a noun? What if truth is a process, a verb, evolving? One of our Universalist forebears, L. Griswold Williams, served as a minister in the early 1900s. He wrote words that are spoken as covenant in many UU congregations today. They begin, quote, "Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer." End quote. The quest of truth is its sacrament. Sacrament is an interesting word. We hear it in echoes of other words: sacred, sacral, consecrate, and meant, an action taken or the result of an action. Put it together, a sacrament is an outward and visible sign of inward and spiritual grace. In Christian tradition, sacraments include such things as baptisms, marriages, and the like. Unitarian Universalism is a tradition that honors its Christian roots and today encompasses many spiritual orientations: atheists, monotheist, polytheist, pantheist, non-theist. As sure as the flaming chalice is our symbol, the asking of a question is a sacrament. A question is an invitation to ourselves to acknowledge the limits of our own understanding and embrace humility and curiosity, and an invitation to others, other people, other beings, the universe, deity, an invitation to something or someone beyond ourselves, an invitation for them to share their understanding, their wisdom, so we can learn and grow together. In times of war, of threat, of social collapse and climate change, one very real human coping mechanism is to seek control, to claim certainty, to cling to answers and truths, and often to use them like stones to attack or wall out anyone who disagrees. This is supremacy, focused on the survival and dominance of oneself, one's group, above all others. Reverend Tulou goes on to say, another equally real human coping mechanism is to get curious, to ask questions, or as the peace prayer puts it, to not so much seek to be understood as to understand. To even in the most unlikely of circumstances, be playful, for this is where we risk and grow the most. Certainty, rigid and exclusive answers, and jealous truths, these build walls between us. Questioning, humility, curiosity, and play all allow people to transform walls into bridges to connect us. This is the way of beloved community. The question is a sacrament of our faith. When one seeks to understand, rather than scoffing at those who believe differently, when one embraces difference and doubt as allies in the quest of and for truths too big to be wholly known through just one person, when rather than asserting the dominance of our own perspective, we admit we don't have all the answers and seek to live the questions. That way of engaging the world becomes an outward and visible sign of inward grace. As an 18-year-old in the Middle East, because I was not equipped to reconcile the paradoxes at work in both human nature and religion, because I could not hold it all at once. All of the violence and oppressive menace that I witnessed were able to crowd all of the goodness I witnessed as well. But I'd like to name them now. The Jewish man who ran a child care and community center so that Jewish, Christian, and Muslim children and families could grow together in relationship. The Palestinian minister who still to this day offers his church as a sanctuary to any in need. The Bedouin who offered us tea and hospitality, despite having had multiple members of their tribe sent to the hospital the day before. They all lived in a world that is threatening and dangerous, and somehow they continued to engage it with curiosity, courage, humility, and hope. They did not submit their spirits to the violence that would have them hide their humanity. They engaged, played, asked questions, and invited connection again and again. In closing, we're going to listen to a musical piece based on a poem that was found inscribed on the wall of a cellar in a concentration camp in Cologne following World War II. The poem speaks of belief and trust, that truth is something bigger than one's immediate experience. It speaks of remaining open and engaged in the face of unspeakable harm, and of how the poet struggled to reconcile the great goodness and great evil that both exist at the same time because of their difference. The lyrics contain verses that speak to humanists, atheists, and theists among us. I invite you to cherish the words that nourish you and to be glad for the ones that nourish your neighbors. Let's take a listen.
I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun, even when
Thank you so much, Alyssa, for presenting that wonderful sermon in your wonderful way. I invite the song leaders to return, and I invite the congregation to rise in body or spirit to sing our closing hymn, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. The words are also on the screen. We will sing all the verses. Please remain standing afterward for the benediction and the extinguishing of the chalice. I invite Chris Kynes to return and extinguish first the candles and then the chalice as I read these words of Leslie Hashimoto. Walk the maze within your heart. Guide your steps into its questioning curves. This labyrinth is a puzzle leading you deeper into your own truths. Listen to the twists and turns. Listen in the openness that is within all searching. Listen. A wisdom within you calls to a wisdom beyond you. And in that dialogue, lies peace. Amen and blessed be.